This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie lovers, and thank you for tuning in once again to Bad Movies We Love. As always, I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
This month, it's not just stupid stuff, it's stuff that's out of this world, as I welcome you to Mars Madness. That's right, for the rest of the month, it's all Mars movies. So take your protein pills and put your helmets on, because we're gonna blast off. But before we do, just a little bit of housekeeping. The members-only section of Bad Movies We Love is now up and running. You can become an enlisted member in the Resistance for just $5 a month, and you'll get access to Bad Movie Futures, Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con, Rom-Comathon. You'll get an invite to the Discord chat. You'll be entered for future giveaways, and any new shows that I make exclusives will be added to that feed as well. Just go to badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support. Plus, you can sign up for a 7-day free trial. No commitment, no obligation. And if you like the sound of no commitment, no obligation, and you want to help out the show without spending money, really the best way to do that is by word of mouth. Simply telling a friend or a family member about a show that you found that you love actually goes a really long way. And in this digital age, word of mouth includes stuff like sharing on social media, but writing a review and leaving a rating on your podcast platform of choice actually goes a really long way in helping new listeners discover the show. And speaking of listeners, I would love to hear from you, whether that is through our completely anonymous show survey, which you can access through the show notes, or if you want to shoot me an email, you can do so at badmovieswelove@thesheist.com. But that's enough housekeeping for now, because we have a very important journey ahead of us. My co-pilot on the spaceship to nowhere, my co-host for Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con, is back to kick things off. Stephanie Kennerly joins me for a very important journey to the Red Planet. It's Brian de Palma's Mission to Mars from 2000. So a lot of ingenuity and creativity went into like the physical making of this film, and that always enables me to give a film some grace.
Ignore the fact that none of it comes together. And I'm cool with that most of the time.
If I get an email from Don Cheadle, I will totally read that, even if he tells me I'm an asshole.
But I fully support the pre-mission cookout.
At the end of the movie, everybody just like did mushrooms, kumbaya.
A sand wiener comes out of a giant alien face.
The uncircumcised Martian penis monster.
I didn't come 100 million miles just to stop in the last 10 feet.
As we continue to search the cosmos, we'll be on the lookout for more sand wieners.
Which is very not rational astronaut behavior.
This is a truly anomalous formation. It's unlike anything that we've seen so far. We're trying not to go too nuts up here, but we think there's a good chance that this could be water. Of course, if that's correct, then we may have found the key to permanent human colonization.
Well, I am joined today by my guest, my friend, my co-pilot on the spaceship to nowhere, my co-host for Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con, Stephanie Kennerly, is back to kick off Mars Madness. So welcome back to the show.
Mars and bad movies we love. Awesome. Yeah. So happy to be here.
Mars Badness, more like it. We'll have to find some
There's probably more Mars badness than Mars goodness, which makes it all the better. So
yeah, I was just trying to think off the top of my head, like, are there good Mars movies? I don't know. I don't know if I've seen one. but I've seen a lot of bad ones, and there was a lot to choose from. But today we are talking about Mission to Mars, directed surprisingly by Brian de Palma, written by
Lowell. Not his typical type.
No, written by Lowell Cannon, Jim Thomas, John Thomas, and Graham Yost, starring Gary Sinise, Tim Robbins, Don Cheadle, Jerry O'Connell, and Connie Nielsen. I asked you to come on the show for Mars Madness because you are my partner in sci-fi. And I think I showed you a list of movies that were contenders, and you chose this one. Does that sound right?
I don't recall being shown a list, but I recall having a back and forth about what might be able to be included. And this one was definitely one of the ones that solid candidate.
Well, there's a surprisingly long list. There's probably a dozen, maybe like 15 movies that made the list of stuff that I might end up putting on the show. But when you mentioned this movie, I was like, all right, it was already on that list, so I didn't have to do any additional work. But I guess of all the Mars movies out there, why are we talking about this one today?
Well, that's a good question. Like the two different Mars movies that popped into my head when we talked about Mars Madness was this one, Mission to Mars, and the other was Red Planet, which both came out in the same year, the year 2000, which puts them solidly in my, prime growing up years, because I would have been 15. And I think that's probably the reason that both of them popped into my head, and it just seemed like the right direction to go. And between the two of them, I thought Mission to Mars is got a little more of an emotional story to it, which at the moment I was making the choice seemed like the way to go.
Yeah, I feel like, Y2K was over, and it's just like, all right, well, we're going to Mars then. And so both these movies had come out in 2000, and they're very, very different, as it turns out. I am personally more of a Red Planet guy, so revisiting this was interesting because I'm a lot older now than when I first watched this back in probably like the early aughts when it hit cable. I don't think I went to theaters to see either of them, honestly. But what about you? Was this something that you had seen around the time it came out in theaters?
I was trying to figure that out last night, and I could not come up with an answer. So either it's something that I saw around the time it, hit TV, hit HBO or whatever like that. I know I didn't see it in theaters, or I didn't see it until like five or so years ago. It's one or the other, and those are completely opposite. But I have no direct memory of the first time I watched this. I have memories of how I felt the first time I watched it, but not like who I was when I watched it, and therefore how old I was. So I'm really not sure when I saw this for the first time.
What do you remember, I guess, from the first time you watched it then? Like, what is the thing that stuck with you?
The face, yeah. So when I was a kid, the face on Mars was a source of endless fascination to me. I thought, I mean, I was pretty fascinated by the idea of aliens in general, but I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. This is an actual structure on Mars, and it's totally a face. It's 100% a face. There's no way it's just shadows. And I was like, this is proof of aliens, and I love aliens, and Martian, so exciting, and what could this mean for humanity? So when there was a movie that basically explored all of that, I was like, this movie was made for me.
Yeah, I mean, I also remember a face, but it was Tim Robbins' frozen corpse face that was the thing face that stuck with me probably the most. And then it sort of shaped the way I thought about like what happens to people in space, and it turns out that it doesn't happen. Like you wouldn't
Not
you wouldn't
quite
just,
like that.
Yeah, you wouldn't instantly freeze into an icicle if you took your helmet off in space. And so there was a lot of sci-fi movies probably between like 95 and 2005 that had somebody depressurizing outside or something like that. And sort of the science behind that was always fascinating to me. And so maybe that's why the frozen face stuck with me, because I found out later that's like that wouldn't happen. So I was maybe disappointed in,
because you wanted to die that way. I mean, no.
Not that I necessarily wanted to die that way, but in the sense that Mission to Mars is a movie that feels very much like it wants to occupy some of the same space as like Apollo 13. It wants to be taken very seriously from the NASA side of things. So much so that like not only are we bringing back Gary Sinise for another sci-fi or for another space movie with NASA, but he gets to actually go to space in this one. So we're giving him a redemption arc after Apollo 13. And it's very committed to the sort of like the mission side of things, but in a strange way. And, you know, I couldn't help but compare it to like other films that sort of dabble in similar things. Like, here's how The Martian handles this. Here's how Apollo 13 handles this, like mostly better movies about that. And The Martian is probably the good movie based on Mars. It doesn't mean there aren't entertaining ones, though. So this is always a movie to me that sort of was just weird, especially at the time, because it was so different than the rest of them. And I think by the end of watching it again last night, I kind of began to understand what the movie wanted to do and its inspirations and the identity of the story. It's just not my kind of sci-fi movie in the way that it is up until like the very end.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking the exact same thing when I was kind of going through going through my mind and analyzing the movie. I have a movie in my head, don't worry. Apollo 13 popped into my head and I was like, yes, this movie takes itself very seriously and it wants to be something that it doesn't quite make it to at all. And from the cast and the director, it seems clear that everyone thought they were going to be able to get there, that they were going to be able to make it this moving, intense, emotional, epic, sci-fi, alien, Martian adventure. But it doesn't quite come together. And I'm not sure whose fault that would be. I did hear that Brian de Palma got very upset with the whole, studio system after this movie and that basically refused to work for any big studio afterwards. So maybe there was a lot of studio interference that messed this movie up. Who knows? Point being, it's just not quite what it wants to be. But you can totally see what it wants to be.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that ended up happening that sort of derailed what it ultimately could have been or where its potential might be. And I hate having to be like, I like this movie's potential, but not what it actually is, because that feels unfair. But at the same time, I've seen so many sci-fi projects before watching this, and even some of the lesser ones handle themselves better as a whole. And I don't know if it's the tone of the film, although I think that is part of it. I think it's like tone, pacing, identity, script issues. Like, I think there's just a lot of stuff that is colliding in sort of a massive sandstorm here on Mars. And Sadly, it just didn't click in the way that I wanted it to, and I think that's fairly common for the people that ultimately saw this movie, because it didn't do all that well. It was not received well, but critically, which is why we're talking about it here. So, yeah, it's a movie where I can see the potential, and I feel like maybe had De Palma been involved from the beginning and had a chance to start from the ground up, this would be a very different movie, because he's a very capable filmmaker, has made a lot of good stuff throughout his career. And to see this just sort of miss almost every mark that it sets out to achieve is kind of like a spectacularly weird disaster.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. It is one of those that, like, if you, I don't know, describe it to somebody, they would probably think that it would be better than it ends up being. It's one of these movies that I have to kind of watch in pieces. Like, I have to kind of like appreciate this little bit and then appreciate that little bit and appreciate this little bit and ignore the fact that none of it comes together. And I'm cool with that most of the time. You know, I'm happy to go along for the ride. The scene where the face kills everyone that's pretty awesome. I love that, you know, like, and that pretty much makes the movie for me. So
it has its moments for sure. And I think the ending is where the movie ultimately like wanted to be. And then, okay, I like this. It's a little different than what a lot of the rest of the movie sets up, but I appreciate the sentiment that went into the end. And I think, you know, that's like the last 30 minutes of the movie, and it's about 2 hours long. So within the first like 10 minutes of the film, they're on Mars, and then we're kind of like not on Mars after that. And then it's an hour in the middle of just like meandering. Meanwhile, like, something happened on Mars. Okay. Then we finally get to Mars. And then the story, sort of the most interesting part of the story, is the last 30 minutes. And then it's kind of, okay, we're done. And we raise some big questions here. And then we'll leave you with that. We're not going to get into like actually like what any of this means. We're going to like really sort of give you a grand explanation, and sort of like at the end of the movie, everybody just like did mushrooms, kumbaya, and yeah, we're all the same. Okay, movie's over. So I think like I feel like the vibe the movie went for was sort of this like 60s era, very emotional connection to space exploration. Like, you know, you think back to Kennedy's speech about like why we do it. Like, why do we do the hard thing? Or why do we do this? It's not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And like the pursuit of knowledge for the sake of knowledge, and the pursuit of exploration for the sake of exploration, is different than like, oh, we need to go to Mars to like mine minerals off of it. You know, it's like a very different type of mentality. So I feel like the headiness there definitely stems from a 60s era storytelling perspective. However, the majority of the movie isn't that. The majority of the movie is like, hey, this is Apollo 13, which is very much like a 90s movie. It's great, but it so wants to sort of like siphon the energy and the quality of what Apollo 13 accomplished, which is not easy to do.
yeah, it's definitely feels like two completely different movies just slapped together. You know, there's like the story of trying to rescue the marooned astronaut and the difficulties that the crew encounters when their spaceship is hit by, you know, these teeny tiny meteors and all that. Like, that's one story. It's completely separate from the face on Mars that tried to kill everybody and was designed by aliens who want you to come and find them. Like, and putting it all together is kind of, I mean, it keeps your attention, I guess, because there's always something happening. But usually in movies, one thing is supposed to lead into the other, and it doesn't quite do that here.
The movie, despite being 2 hours, it does have sort of two competing stories. And I mean, like, as a series, I think maybe this makes sense because there's enough space to, sorry, not no pun intended, but there's enough space to really get into that just naturally happens now. I just accidentally do that. But I think there's enough room for this story over maybe like 8 episodes to really explore, hey, this is the mission that went there and something catastrophic happened. Now we're back on Earth and we have to plan a new mission, because basically they argue for like 10 seconds about whether or not they're going to go. And then the next scene is like they're already 175 days
they're already there
into their journey. And then when they're there, oh yeah, now shit hits the fan because like we need something to give us some energy here in the middle of the film because we spent a lot of time with minutia. And then it's like, okay, well, now this is a sort of problem solving adventure, which some good space movies really get into. I feel like that's where The Martian operates mostly, is that it's like it's an engineering movie because he's just trapped and has to figure out how to survive. And so like Don Cheadle's living that movie. Wow.
But we don't get any details about that.
We don't. But
yeah.
He definitely
it would have been interesting. But we just leave him for half the movie, and then come back to him, and boom, look, he's a survivor.
Yeah, and I feel like Don Cheadle is too good of an actor to not be given the chance to like show us some of that. But I think when you have like this kind of cast and you're trying to tell this story, like some concession had to be made. And I would have found it more interesting to see how he's trying to survive on Mars, at least maybe cut into the story. But they want to surprise us at the end with like, is he alive? Is he not alive? You know, so that we get that moment that, you know, you kind of are already anticipating. And then he's just like back to normal. He's like, oh, well, you're my friends. Okay. Like I might be a little bit crazy, but things are cool. It's like, no, you've been marooned for a year on Mars. Like you've definitely probably gone insane in isolation at that point. So I would have liked some more insanity out of him. But before we get too long in the tooth, I want to take a moment to set the table here so that we can talk a little bit about the production side of the movie, because Brian de Palma joined the project after the original director left due to budget concerns, but De Palma was hired and the script was already finalized, the cast was already in place, and much of the budget was already allocated to CGI. And Mission to Mars was filmed primarily in Vancouver, Jordan, and the Canary Islands with extensive special effects. Over 400 technicians contributed to the film's visual effects, including CGI, miniatures, and animation. And despite its extensive use of special effects, the film did not receive any major award nominations for its production. Now, this was produced by Disney's Touchstone Pictures, which has popped up several times throughout the course of this show now, and it was distributed by Buena Vista Pictures in North America and Spyglass Entertainment in European markets, but it premiered in theaters on March 10th of 2000, opening at number 1 with a $22.9 million debut across more than 3,000 locations. However, the revenue dropped by 50% in its second weekend, falling to second place that week, and the film's earnings continue to decline, finishing its theatrical run in 72nd place. Domestically, it did gross about $60 million over 18 weeks, with an additional $50 million from international markets, bringing the total box office revenue to about $110 million against its $100 million budget. So barely treading water, but succeeded, and ended up ranking 41st among the highest grossing films of 2000. Not too bad, but it still ended up here on this show. So let's go to the tail of the tape because it has a 5.7 from IMDb, 34 Metascore, a 2.8 on Letterboxd, a 24 Rotten Tomato score from critics, 30% from audience, but a Just Watch score of 83%. But still, even with that 83, it has a Bad Movies We Love total score of 47.3 out of 100. So still dragged down by the vast majority of critical scores. So still, I think, comfortably acknowledged across the board as a bad movie.
Yeah. So what is a Just Watch score? How do they figure that? Is it just like people say yes or no on whether they liked it, and it's a percentage of people who respond?
It could be a percentage of people that have watched the movie. I honestly don't know. I probably shouldn't include it as one of my metrics, but I saw a percentage and I was like, might as well throw it in there. So if we really take out the 83%, it's really, really low. Then it's probably sub 35.
Well, I didn't mean to torpedo your score. I was just
fine.
Curious.
It's not my score.
Well, it's the Bad Movies We Love score, so it is your score.
That's true. It's the Bad Movies We Love aggregate machine. I don't know. Just Watch, if you listen to this, which you probably don't, I'll reach out to somebody at the company and I'll ask the question. I'm not afraid to take no for an answer. It's okay. Yeah, so this movie definitely not great, as we said. Not without its redeeming qualities, though. And I think even acknowledging all of the things that I struggled with this time, which were plentiful, I do love the cast. And I really still enjoy getting to watch the cast sort of get into full NASA mode, which is like one of my guiltiest pleasures with sci-fi films. Like, just, hey, what is the suit going to look like? And what's the helmet design going to be like? And how is the production design going to look in the background? And so this movie does all of those things very, very well. And it's one of the things I feel like sci-fi movies are forced to do in a very creative way. Not all of them spend $110 million like building out entire deserts so that you can film this stuff. But, you know, there's a lot of scenes in this movie where there's like some forced perspective and some stuff where I thought it was like matte painted backgrounds, but it's not. Some of it is. Some of it's done with miniatures. So a lot of ingenuity and creativity went into like the physical making of this film. And that always enables me to give a film some grace.
Yeah. I mean, what pops into my head in particular is the kind of sand funnel killer worm thingy dingy, and that whole scene is so cool.
The uncircumcised Martian penis monster.
I mean, like, I want to call it a sandworm, but then you think of a worm that lives in the sand, not like a worm-like structure made of sand. So it took me a while to figure out a way to describe this thing.
I was like, this is an interesting design choice. You probably want to run from that thing.
That would be my instinct, sure.
None of them ever seemed afraid about what was happening. Like, if you're on a planet that you assume is completely dead, and all of a sudden there's a huge sand tornado, and you're just like standing there watching it, hoping to get readings. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say they deserve to die, but they did not respond appropriately to the situation.
Yes. I did like how Don Cheadle ended up getting buried almost as if he was sinking into quicksand. That was a beautiful detail. It kind of didn't make much sense, but it looked cool and it allowed him to survive, unlike everyone else.
Yeah. Even in that scene, I'm like, okay, this is frightening, like the way that I would feel if I were them, right? even if it was just a sandstorm or a sand tornado, that's probably something you not want to get caught in on the surface of Mars. Probably want to like back up, maybe get in the rover and see if you can get out of range of that. But I like sort of how it plays out in the sense that I am all of a sudden scared, even though they're not. And this sand wiener.
There you go. That's the name. We got it.
It grabs this guy. It sucks him into the funnel, and it hits him with the spin cycle. And like at that point, I went from being scared to like now I'm laughing, and then all his limbs fly off, and I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, I didn't remember how graphic that part was. But it does, again, like send this message that like you kind of should be scared of what's happening. And then that scene is like over. And then like that whole portion of the movie is just like, OK, we scared you. And now let's go cut some red tape. And it's such a weird tonal shift to go back to. I know you have to get to the astronauts, but even the astronauts that we run into seem to have very little urgency when it comes to like making this happen. Like those are your friends, and so they're like, you know, they're trying to like prod the, I guess, the mission commander or whoever the guy is that gives them the green light, this like salty old German dude. They're trying to just like convince him that it's the right thing to do to make this mission happen. But for a movie that often wants us to feel a certain level of emotional attachment, there seems like there's a lot of emotional detachment before we even like get the stakes to where they need to be.
Yeah, that seems pretty characteristic of that type of person, though. As much as they care about each other, they're very mission focused, aren't they? I would think. I don't know. I have not met any astronauts, but like that seems like
Fair.
kind of something that you learn about them from movies. I am basing all of this on my knowledge of movies like Apollo 13. They put aside their emotions and get the job done. No, I don't know. But it is kind of an interesting, you bring up an interesting point, because the emotional sides of these characters are relied upon heavily throughout the story. And the idea that in certain instances, it's not apparent, but in others, it's glaringly over apparent. Like when Connie Nielsen tries to save Tim Robbins, even though there's no physical way she could do so. Although the science in that section is completely wrong, and she could absolutely save him in real life. But in the story, she basically is about to risk her entire life and the entire mission for him, which is very not rational astronaut behavior. And it's something that occurred to me when at the beginning of the movie, when they were talking about the spouses going into space together. I was like, I can see some benefits, but I can also see where they would not be putting the mission first.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they're telegraphing that to us later in the movie by like having that conversation. And it's like, so the only benefit is you get some like zero gravity hookups
Dancing.
with your partner, dancing, some
Nice.
kissing, like. She's just like laying there while he's like running the numbers. Like, I don't know. She's holding some weird 2-prong shit. And it's just, what are we doing here? I don't know. We're just doing something. Like, it's so ridiculous.
We're teenagers just fooling around when we're supposed to be doing our homework.
Right. And like, I think their romance like it's okay. I'm not completely against seeing how that exists in like the confines of this story, but I feel like it's sort of like half measures in both directions. Like you kind of want them to both be scientists because they are, but the more I watch the movie, the more I'm like, I feel like her character is just so underwritten. And then when we get to certain moments in the film, it's like that's not possible. It's like, well, like, what do you mean it's not possible? It literally just happened. And then there's multiple times where she's saying something is not possible when it is like staring her in the face. And then even before that, when she's told something is not possible, she's like, yes, it is. I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm like, there's just like not consistency there with her. And that just leads me to believe that she is there solely as the emotional coat rack to like hang our sadness on when Tim Robbins dies. And like, that's not a great thing to do to a character.
Yeah. I mean, a woman being underwritten, that's probably the first time this has happened in Hollywood.
Yeah, first and only.
I agree with you. She's not done well. Not done well. And obviously not the actor's fault. It's completely the character and the writing.
Yeah, I think, like, not to say what the movie like should or shouldn't be, but you have this story with Gary Sinise and like his lost spouse and her dying of cancer, and like that's supposed to play into like him either being jealous or like something. He's supposed to feel some kind of way that these other people have now been able to successfully have their marriage certified in space.
NASA approved.
Exactly. But I feel like a story where this is all sort of like the same, but they're planning the mission while his wife is sick, and like he's grappling between those two things seems a lot more interesting and emotionally resonant than the thing that we got, because you could even arrive at a point where she is like, hey, I'm dying, I'm not gonna make it, but like you've still been working on this, I want you to go. I feel like there's just something there rather than shoehorning in like the Tim Robbins sort of like teenage romance kind of thing where like in the middle of the movie, let's just stop and have like a dance sequence in zero gravity.
It doesn't make much sense, but it's a very cute scene.
It is cute and
good song too.
I feel like just if the purpose of the two of them was to be cute, like I get that. But also Tim Robbins, you could tell by his haircut that he's supposed to be serious. Like you don't get a you don't get a buzz cut like that if you're sort of like a cutesy type of dude. Granted, when we like first meet him, he's wearing like a very loose fitting like Hawaiian ensemble. But also I was gonna ask you, is there an astronaut movie that you know of where there isn't like a cookout of some kind? It feels like before a mission there's always a cookout.
Nothing pops into my head, but I fully support the pre-mission cookout. Like if I'm about to, I don't know, start something serious where I'm going to be eating like food out of a packet for however long, I am going to be firing up the grill with my friends and playing some Zydeco music and like, let's do that.
I mean, yeah, I get it. You want to have a nice meal before you blast off into space and are forced to, drink nothing but Dr. Pepper out of a pouch.
I would totally do that. I love seeing the Dr. Pepper save the day.
Yeah, convenient. I was like, thank God they sponsored this mission to Mars, because without this Dr. Pepper, we'd never find that leak, because even though we're astronauts, we have no plan to figure out these kind of things without Dr. Pepper at hand. So fortunately, they've got 23 delicious flavors to guide them.
Yeah. So one thing about the cookout, the handsome single astronaut who, I think he was the guy who got his limbs spun off. Yeah. At the beginning of the cookout, he's given the last night on Earth speech to a pretty girl, and she laughs and walks away. If that were me, I'd be all for it. Like, why not? If an astronaut gives me the last day on Earth speech, it's gonna work.
I mean, I kind of figured the same thing, and the way that she just kind of like boops him on the nose, and it's not gonna work. It's like, I'm going to Mars tomorrow. Like,
exactly.
Like, who cares? I get it if he's like hitting on her and she's married or something, then like that makes sense. And like you don't have to show them hooking up, but for her to like openly reject him it's a weird swerve at that point in the movie for sure.
I mean, I get the whole like, you're not smooth and I'm not an idiot. This isn't going to work on me kind of thing. And I suppose there would probably be a lot more people upset about the movie if she was like, oh, yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. Let's go behind the shed here. But like, I don't know. They too infrequently show, they need to show, women being like, I understand what you're doing. You're not fooling me, but I'm game.
Yeah, it's okay to have two consenting adults understand the situation because, I think a lot of the romanticizing of like the cookout, sort of like, again, calling back to Apollo 13, like, but Apollo 13 is set in the 60s. This movie's set in 2020. So to sort of like dial us back 60 years and say that like these are like the norms in this situation is just kind of weird. Like they could totally casually hook up. You don't even have to have that scene in the movie at all.
That's true. I think that was completely a vehicle to show that this guy's one of the astronauts and he's one of the guys in the team that's leaving the next day. That's all. Yeah. That's the entire point of the conversation.
Yeah, because I don't know the actor. He doesn't do much throughout the film other than like get drawn and quartered by the sand wiener. But I think before we proceed, it's probably a good time to jump into the synopsis haiku because, we've talked a lot about the movie. It's obviously called Mission to Mars, kind of self-explanatory, but let's have some fun with it.
Yes. Okay. So my haiku. Mystery on Mars. Face with deadly defenses. An important truth.
Yeah.
There's a lot to try to summarize in so few syllables.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think mine does a good summary either. But let's see. Journey has begun. Danger and destiny wait. Get your ass to Mars.
I like it. It's got a good finale.
Yeah, well, I just stole that from Total Recall, so. Which
is a solid thing to steal from, yeah.
Much better Mars movie than this one.
I do love Total Recall. That one is a childhood favorite of mine.
Yeah, well, don't blame you at all. Okay, well, I know you said you have a limerick in hand.
I do.
Yeah. You always do a limerick when you're on this show, and it's become part of the staple of our other show.
I know. I like rhyme, so the limericks they're kind of my favorite thing to do. So
I feel like I'm getting better at these than haikus as well.
They're less limiting.
Yes, for sure.
And you can be sillier with a limerick. Although Get Your Ass to Mars ended up in your haiku, so I guess that is pretty silly.
Yeah. I want to change my limerick now to include Sandwiener, but
there you go.
Too late.
Well, too bad we didn't come up with Sandwiener ahead of time. Prepare our Sandwiener jokes. Okay, let's get my limerick. A sandworm comes out of a giant. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna put it in. Sorry. A sand. Okay. All right. I swear I'll get through this. A sand wiener comes out. This'll happen. A sand wiener comes out of a giant alien face and kills all but one, setting off a race. To rescue the last man, despite setbacks they can, discover truth and earn a trip to deep space.
Pretty good.
I did not listen to anything after Sandwiener.
Well, if this movie should be remembered for anything, it should be the giant sand wiener. Okay. I know. I was like, how do I now shoehorn and change everything to include sand wiener? But I'm just gonna go with what I got. So I can't rhyme the rest of it without it. So there once were some astronaut friends who hung out together on Mars once again. But shit hit the fan and it fucked up their plans. Not everyone goes home in the end.
I like it. I like the profanity. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I'm trying to supposed to be a little bit more profane with the limerick, so.
Exactly. They're fairly irreverent. So as a type of poetry.
All right. Well, now that we've covered the sand wiener, that makes this a good movie. But why do you think someone would say that this is a bad movie?
Okay. How much time you got, Nick? No.
We've got about another hour.
Some of the things we already mentioned, like the fact that it's kind of like two separate stories shoved together. The science, there's a lot of requiring you to ignore and to ignore incorrect science. And, there's a degree to which that's not a big deal in sci-fi movies because it's fiction, we gotta kind of go with it, roll with things for the sake of the story. But they do it a lot here. And if you're scientifically minded, it's just kind of a constant ignore this, ignore that, ignore this, ignore that. And I can see that could be a bridge too far for some people. So
okay, I get that. I think we'll cover a lot of the sort of the more of the why. But I would say like tone, pacing, and the term that I wrote down when watching this was diet science fiction. So I think in my head was that the movie sort of wants to be interested in the real side of things rather than the fiction side. And then like right after I'm writing this in my notes, the sand wiener shows up and murders everybody. So I'm like, okay, well, there is some like real like fiction going on. And then a lot of the movie is like, no, this is kind of just like a NASA story. The filmmakers, like they had the Mars plans from NASA, like they designed everything to be as authentic as possible. So it's like this weird mix of wanting to be super authentic and realistic on one side, and then like this very ambitious sci-fi on the other side. And trying to bridge that gap, I think, is the hard part that we see this movie struggle with throughout the middle.
yeah, I mean, I guess that all goes back to what people want to watch science fiction for, and it's obviously very dependent on the specific person. Like, are you interested in science fiction that's very science based and like it's only fiction because it's the type of thing that hasn't quite come to pass yet, or do you want it to be a little more? Let's see where this can go. Let's I don't know, drifting into fantasy almost in some places. And this film, like you said, it starts out very grounded and science-based, and then there are aspects of it that are more out there and fantasy adjacent.
That's a good point.
So it's
science fantasy.
That's Star Wars. That's kind of how I think of that. Like I'm one of the types of people that like if it gets too divorced from a world that I can imagine myself living in, I start to lose interest. And maybe I don't have as great of an imagination as some people. So, yeah.
I probably shouldn't have watched Contact before this, because it's like, hey, Contact is a movie that I feel grapples with all the things that this movie thinks it's grappling with. You know, it actually has emotional resonance and actual science and actual like strategy and mission planning. And then it also takes us to like a scientific fantasy at the end. Like, it does all of the things so much better than this film. And Contact being based on the book, I think, helps a lot. You know, it has a rubric for like how we're going to get from point A to point B and why those things matter. And maybe that's really what this movie was trying to copy more than something like Apollo 13, but just doesn't have the same foundation.
Yeah, it gets hard when you're trying to compare a really good science fiction, or when you're trying to compare a movie like this to one that you recently watched that is a very good execution in all categories, and interest in good stories, especially if it has some similarities, because it's hard, you can't help but compare.
Yeah, you know, comparison is the thief of joy, but you know, Contact
True.
does not have a giant Martian sand wiener, so
That's true. I mean, like, there are shortcomings to Contact. No giant Martian sand wiener.
Yeah. So I think let's look at the trailer now, because I don't even think I remember the trailer for this movie. It just was a movie where I saw Mars in the title like a year or two later on cable, and it's like, yeah, sure, let's Mars it up.
Yeah, I don't recall having seen the trailer either, so this will be fun.
This trailer rewind is brought to you by Hair for Mars. There may or may not be intelligent life on Mars, but when you're going to be the representative for humankind's first contact with alien life, you want to look your best. That's why NASA has scoured the best salons and barbershops in the country to put together Hair for Mars, the last stop on your way to the Red Planet. Hair for Mars specializes in chic but classy looks that look good for pre-flight, press junkets, launch day selfies, and they avoid the dreaded helmet hair look. Plus, they hold up in zero-G, artificial gravity, and increased gravity. So don't get caught with a bad haircut when you need to look your best. Visit Hair for Mars. Their skills are out of this world. And now, back to the show. Let's go ahead and grab that. Oh.
Interested to see how much it gives away.
Yeah. Let's see. Is the sound okay?
Yeah.
All right. I don't think that was ever in the movie.
Truly anomalous formation. It's unlike anything that we've seen so far. We're trying not to go too nuts up here, but we think there's a good chance that this could be water. Of course, if that's correct, then we may have found the key to permanent human colonization.
Yes. Okay, we're ready to light this candle.
Let's go to Mars.
Oh no.
Space suits. Interesting.
Artificial
choice.
gravity.
Yeah. I do like that scene in the gravity chamber.
But what the hell is that? No idea, boss.
There it is.
We got the wiener.
Prepare to abandon ship.
It's like disaster awaits.
For centuries,
We're in
we
space.
searched for the origin of life on Earth.
Oh, spoiler alert.
We've been looking on the wrong planet.
I do like the white room though. Like,
That's
like
cool.
yeah.
Mission to Mars.
Okay.
I think it's interesting that they advertise Brian de Palma as the director of Mission Impossible, which he is. But
He is.
maybe, I mean, I guess they were trying to find the film that would like have the most crossover audience, or they're just like, hey, here's another movie with the word mission that this guy directed.
Yeah, you trusted him to make that movie that was a mission, and this movie is a bigger mission.
That mission went well. We'll see about this one.
Yeah, not so much.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert doesn't go so well.
You know, I really liked that trailer, though. I think they did a really good job, like, kind of balancing the emotions and like balancing the different stories in the film. Like the trailer, I think, was better than the movie.
It's entirely possible just because sometimes less is more. And the trailer focuses on a lot of the design choices, which the movie does well, right? You know, they spent a lot of time and effort on the production side of things. So show us a lot of the production and like not so much of the talking. And even sort of towards the end of the trailer where you're actually giving away maybe a little bit too much for what this movie is, you get to appreciate some of the like that 60s era, I think, sci-fi vision. You know, I think if you look at that, the white room compared to something like 2001 Space Odyssey, I mean, even Space Odyssey has the tracking shot in the gravity drive, which this movie does, but does a little bit differently. And as I'm watching that, I'm like, how are they filming this? And then I'm like, well, Gary Sinise has got to be just like buckled into that chair upside down. So I was waiting to see if he was going to like put the book down, or, you know, they had to have it be him because like his hair will stay in place. And I kept looking at his hair like, is that a wig? I was like, I need a wig scientist.
Let's talk about Gary Sinise's hair.
Please.
It was inexcusable. And I literally wrote that down in my notes. All it says is Gary Sinise's hair was inexcusable. It was terrible. It almost ruins the movie. I can't express enough emotion about that.
Well, I mean, obviously I paid some close attention to it myself. Because the first time he shows up, I'm like, this is really what they're going with? I was like, how did I not remember this? And then the whole opening scene, I'm like, I'm not even paying attention to what they're saying. I'm just focused on whether or not that is a wig. And it might have been a wig, but also like his hair might have just been that, but like they made him kind of a redhead.
I don't know what it was like, but he's an attractive man. I've always been attracted to him, but I was not at all in this movie. It completely ruins him. Sorry, but he should have died in the movie because his hair's so terrible.
Well, it had to match his fucking ugly car. So he shows up like in his aviators with his hideous whatever that is. It was like some concept car they made like 4,000 of in the world, yes. And then they added like jet sounds to it to make it seem cool. And it's like, so the guy who like lost his wife and like this is going to be his sort of emotional story shows up like midlife crisis with the convertible and the shades on, and everybody's just like so excited to see him, and he's got his stupid fucking hair. We shouldn't be that focused on Gary Sinise's hair in this movie, but
it's that distracting. It's not our fault.
I really want to know. Nowhere in the trivia did it give me a yes or no answer that I could read about whether or not it's a wig. But hair and makeup styling, you have some answers that we desperately need.
I mean, you know, like they could have gone with a pretty simple, I don't know, hairstyle, like Tim Robbins' hair was good. You know, it was not distracting in any way, shape, or form. And I mean, I've never seen any other picture of Gary Sinise or role that he's been in where I've thought he has bad hair. so it seems like it was harder to make it awful than it would have been to let it be good. So I don't know.
I mean, because maybe it's part of that weird midlife crisis he's going through after his wife dies, is that he's like, I need to reinvent myself via hairstyle. But again, they don't explain any of that.
Maybe that's supposed to be like a common hairstyle in the future. And that's just like pointing out, you know, that this is the future, is like, here, this hairstyle is pretty ugly now, but you're going to like it in 2020. Turns out we're not.
No, it didn't make it through the 90s. Let me think. Well, you got Tim Robbins, right? He's got sort of like a traditional military. Look, I just invented a new word and I'm going to stick to it.
I knew what you were going for, so it works.
Yeah, look, who needs words? But he's got a very militaristic haircut, right? Even Jerry O'Connell, pretty much mostly. Don Cheadle, like very manicured, mostly buzzed haircut. Guy who gets ripped apart by the sand wiener. He also has that same style of like military haircut. So the best I can gather is that they're trying to like make a really drastic distinction between these guys being active and Gary Sinise being like retired. He's let himself go. So we're going to express that in his hair decision.
In his hair with like weird bangs that are just like kind of dripping paint. Like, yeah. Yeah.
So, no,
I mean, that's a solid theory, Nick. You know, I did not get that. So if that's what they were going for, they failed.
He had to get up every morning and make sure his bangs were pointed together as if he has like the hair of a Simpsons character.
There you go.
You know, where it all comes to a point. He doesn't have, it's just not just like combed forward. It's combed into points. Like that is very intentional and would take effort on his part. That's like hairspray or some kind of like modeling clay or something.
Gel. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, now you got my brain going down a rabbit hole and wondering, did Gary Sinise ever voice a character on The Simpsons? And I'm sure he has.
Probably.
I'm sure. Now, but, and I almost feel like I can almost see it or hear it in my mind, but not that that's important in any way, shape, or form. But like I said, rabbit hole. You know.
Yeah. Well, if anybody knows, I glanced. He was suggested to play a Simpsons character, but didn't actually play it in the Mr. Plow episode. So
what?
Pretty close.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
Yeah. Well, if that episode was in 2000, they got one look at his hair and they were like, "You are not allowed on the show anymore. We were going to invite you, but then we saw Mission to Mars, and we could no longer condone this."
Yeah, it really ruined his career. Poor choice.
Oh, sorry, Gary. Really love you in Apollo 13 and basically everything else you do. I watched whatever that he was in. Was it Law and Order or CSI New York? One of those.
One of the million. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And he was great.
You're right. He was in one of those, but
Ransom. Yeah, Gary's got a good career aside from this for the most
Forrest
part.
Gump.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
You know,
his hair was better in Forrest Gump.
So much better.
And that was definitely a wig.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, obviously his hair did a lot of different things in Forrest Gump,
yeah.
but I agree. Even the, you know, the crazy vet, drunk, long hair, stringy, that was better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
if he rolled up with the sunglasses in the convertible rocking that hair, I probably would have just been like, okay, he seems like a dude who is retired and doesn't care and his wife just died, you know. But we get this guy. You know, in the backstory that we don't get is that like quietly he's been trying to like date again, and it's 2020, so like there's apps and stuff, and like he needed the headshot for his Bumble profile or whatever.
I see.
Look, I'm doing way too much explaining with his hair.
It does crack me up always to see how Hollywood predicts the future and to see what they think is going to be realistic in what year. And a mission to Mars in 2020, not to mention like everybody has an electric car except for Tim Robbins, and he makes a joke about internal combustion forever. Like, I wish that were a reality, that like internal combustion was a novelty, but that's not where we are 5 years after this movie.
Yeah,
was supposed to take place.
He's got a nice car though. But
it is pretty.
It would be like a 60-year-old car at that point. But yeah, I'd be like, I would like to have that car more than Gary Sinise's ugly shitbox. But
agreed.
Yeah, so I think we get those two like character sort of descriptions painted like very early on for us, but doesn't seem to come into play later because it's like, yeah, we're still boys. Like our differences don't actually play into our decision making or storytelling later in the movie. But let's do some trivia now. I don't have a segue, but it's time.
Time for trivia.
Okay, trivia. I'm ready.
This is a little tougher than I thought, but question number 1. What was the film that knocked Mission to Mars out of first place at the box office in its second weekend?
That's a great question, because when you said that, I was thinking, I wonder what that movie was. So let me think. March of 2000. The Patriot.
No. It was.
I tried.
It was Aaron Brockovich.
No, I never would have come up with that.
Yeah, right? Some legal drama comes in and just like blows Mission to Mars out of the water. So that's bad. You don't even lose to like another action movie.
Right?
Yeah. And in week 2, you're dethroned, but I think that says a lot. But question number 2, which acclaimed visual effects company worked on Mission to Mars, also known for their work on Star Wars and Jurassic Park?
Oh, yeah, it's not going to come into my head, but as soon as you say it, I'll be like, oh, yeah. So,
Industrial Light and Magic.
Industrial Light and Magic. Yes. Oh, yeah.
All right. Question number 3. We know that Brian de Palma took over as the director for this film, but who did he take over for?
You're killing me, Nick. You're killing me.
I told you this was hard to put questions together for.
This is going to be a guess, and Michael Bay.
Ooh, that would have been fun. Michael Bay's Mission to Mars. Let's do it.
Yeah. Man, I just made a good movie.
Yeah. The director he took over for was rumored to be Gore Verbinski.
No way. And I read that too. It just didn't make a dent in my brain.
Well, that's totally fine. We'll still spin it a couple times just for fun.
I appreciate you accepting my failure.
I'm trying to put the questions together. I was like, well, this isn't great.
I got a trivia question for you.
Oh, shit. Let's go.
You said, I didn't write this one down, but it just stuck in my head. You said that you were fascinated by like the, kind of the design of like NASA suits and stuff. So how much did these suits weigh?
Ooh, I don't know how much these weighed, but I know in some other films where I've read about that, they're like 50 to 60 pounds.
Well, partial credit. They are. Okay. These were 62 pounds.
Oh, close.
So, yeah,
close.
You got it, man.
Yeah, forget.
I'm counting that as a win.
All right, I'll take it. I know it's like the pack and the helmet are quite a lot. I forgot what the other movie that I asked that trivia question to somebody else. But again, I just had to ballpark it. So we'll say partial credit. I'll give you an extra spin on the wheel.
For coming up with my own trivia question?
Yeah,
Nice.
why not? Those suits cost about $100,000 each, and
Right.
were color coded so that everybody like knew who was who. But the real NASA suits are about $12 million each. So
Yeah, I read that too.
you save some money. I've read that, I don't know if this is true because it sounds so insane, but Don Cheadle reportedly slept outside by himself to really get a feel for the isolation, which, considering that he's in the last 30 minutes and like the first 15, seems like he went above and beyond to get into a character that like we should have been seeing a lot of.
Yeah, well, maybe he had more to do in the filming. Like maybe there were things that ended up being cut. So, but that seems like the kind of thing Don Cheadle would do.
Yeah.
He seems like that kind of actor to me. But yeah, I read that as well, but I have no idea if it's accurate.
Well, Don, if you're listening to this, which you're certainly not, hit me up at badmovieswelove@theshice.com and let me know. If I get an email from Don Cheadle, I will totally read that, even if he tells me I'm an asshole.
Nice. We will read it on air, you mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But we talked about De Palma stepping into this and sort of just being brought in when like the ball's already rolling. And so he's just like trying to navigate the ball without it crashing too hard. But he was nominated for the Golden Raspberry for Worst Director, which he ended up losing only to Roger Christian for Battlefield Earth. So to come in second place to Battlefield Earth, which is like notoriously one of the worst movies ever made, which like I think really on the scale of all movies, it's probably not at the bottom, but it's like one of the biggest disaster filmmaking experiences ever. And I've talked about it on this show. I do like I said, the production design elements of this and sort of how you make a Martian landscape. And so they created all this in a giant like sand pit in Vancouver. And then we're like, hey, we're going to paint everything red. Like let's not just get like a red filter or something for the camera. Let's use like 14 million gallons of red paint to paint your desert red. So I hope the cleanup on that wasn't too bad.
That was actually something that I was thinking when I was watching the movie about how they create the Martian landscape for things like this. And then after I was done, of course, I read some trivia and read the same thing, that it was a giant sand pit, like 2 million square feet or something like that. And then literally painted it all red. Crazy. That's dedication.
It is. I mean, that's where all the money went. Lots of CGI and lots of paint. But I mean, it takes a big crew to be able to like paint that, unless you're just like doing paint drops from like a helicopter or something. But I think it worked for at least what I wanted to see from like Martian surface.
Yeah,
close enough.
My other thought was it would probably work to film a Martian movie in the Australian outback, because that tends to have kind of a red tint to the sand as well. But yeah, only, I mean, I know that from all of the movies I've seen of Australia and my complete lack of ever visiting, just FYI.
I think, was it Furiosa was filmed in Australia?
That makes sense because, you know, Mad Max is Australian franchise, basically.
Exactly. You know, so I might be just like conflating the two ideas, and the fact that like Chris Hemsworth is also Australian.
Him too, yes.
Yeah, right. And he's Red Dementis in that movie. So maybe I'm just like thinking completely erroneously, but that's fine. We're going to go to the bonus wheel where thinking erroneously is the name of the game.
I like it.
Yeah, we'll spin it, we'll say 3 times. See what happens.
All right, spin.
We're going to spin it like that astronaut who gets his limbs ripped off. Okay, so if you could ask one character from the film a question, who is the character and what's the question?
Ooh, okay. All right, let's see. I think the most interesting character to talk to would be Don Cheadle. And what would I ask him? If you could go back in time, would you choose to undertake this mission or not? Knowing what you're about to face. Sure, why not? That'll work.
Why did you idiots not run from the sand wiener?
That's a better question.
I don't know that it is, but my question would be to Gary Sinise's character, like, what's going on with your hair? So
yeah, well, that too.
I don't care about this mission to Mars, all right, sir. You need to explain this hairstyling choice to me. But yeah, let's spin it again and we'll see. There's one question that I know for sure that if I get it, we'll skip it and move to something else. But this is a good one. What movie snack would you pair with this movie?
You know, I was anticipating this question might come up,
good.
so I did think ahead of time, and I decided that M&Ms are the way we have to go. With Dr. Pepper, of course.
Yeah, okay.
You know? Because both are, like, I don't know, integral characters in this movie.
That's smart. Yeah, I mean, shameless product placement. You're not going to get to Mars without Coke and M&M sponsoring you. So
just Dr. Pepper, not Coke.
Oh, sorry, that's right. Just Dr. Pepper. This is a question where I'm tempted to say red vines because they're red, but also
I like it.
I was thinking Pop Rocks, which is not exactly like a movie snack, but
yes, it would kind of annoy the people around you, possibly.
Right? Only if I open my mouth, you could close directly in their ear. Hey, can you hear this?
You mean you don't do that when you eat?
I mean, I do, but it doesn't go over well. Okay, let's spin it one more time. What do we got? Ooh. Okay. Settle down. If you could swap out an actor from this movie, which actor and why?
Swap out. Like, do I have to say who would take their place, or can I just say I want this person to be gone?
Yeah, you can just remove somebody.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I ask that as if that would make a difference to my answer, but there's nobody I really hate or anything. I don't. This is the hard one. I don't know. I guess I'll kick out Gary Sinise for somebody with better hair. Let's just stay on that train.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you get a guy like maybe bring Brad Pitt in there with a flowing.
He does have good hair.
He does. He could pull off the sunglasses and the convertible and sort of the cavalier, I'm retired and my wife died attitude, but also still be charming enough to pull it off. I feel bad because I do want Gary Sinise to get his moment in space after Apollo 13. So it's like I'm happy for him, but also he could maybe go. Sorry, Gary. It's nothing personal.
He's like, really not your fault. It's the hairstylist's fault.
I know. Hopefully he's not the kind of person who's like, no, I decided on this. And then this was just like, this was me. It wasn't the hairstylist. Nobody to blame.
Yes. And he's totally listening right now. So sorry, Gary. We just spent 30 minutes bashing your hair. But we do like you.
We do.
As an actor. So.
Yeah, we ultimately like this movie too, so it's not like a total downer fest. No, the person more likely to end up hearing this is probably the makeup and hairstylist. So sorry.
Well,
everybody's hair is good except for Gary's. How's that?
It does what you wanted it to do. I think it is in the shape you wanted it to be in.
It's a statement piece.
Yeah.
Okay, well, after the wheel, now we're going to go to more or less, which I want you to just give me something from the film that you want more of and something from the film that you want less of.
More gradual exposition on the alien story. And less, I don't know, maybe less space shuttle in peril time.
Yeah. a lot of movies already sort of like focus on that, and it's hard to do it better than Apollo 13. So like, why even
Yeah.
sort of put your movie in a position to try to do that? Yeah, I think I like those answers. More Sandwiener, less spaceship in peril. Let's have the Sandwiener like hunt them all across the face of the planet. That'd be interesting. Way different movie, but
Oh no, the Sandwiener is mobile. It's no longer attached to the body.
Makes me think of that song Detachable Penis.
I am not familiar with that song.
I'll put the link up for Detachable Penis in the show notes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Before I get too derailed once again by the Sandwiener, I want to ask you about the music in this movie, because this is Ennio Morricone. This is a very famous composer. And I just felt like the music does not match this movie at all, ever.
Agree.
And
Yeah.
it's one of the things that like is probably the hardest thing for me to like deal with in the film, is that it never sounds like the movie that I see it being.
I agree. I had that same feeling that it's like beautiful, but doesn't match. Yeah. I mean, and the whole feeling about the music not matching comes in at the very beginning for me, where they start playing this like super upbeat Zydeco song right before they start showing the barbecue, which takes place in Texas. So Zydeco doesn't really fit. It's not like they're in an area of the country where Zydeco is like normal, but that's not, I'm sure, not the music that you were talking about, but I felt it was worth mentioning.
I mean, like an imbalance between like the way that the movie sounds as a whole and the way that it looks. And it's like, maybe it's just my experience with sci-fi movies that they tend to like pick a little bit different music. Like they don't typically go with like classical composition. There's a lot of scenes where the tone of the music doesn't really match what we're seeing on screen either. And I think that's the bigger problem, is that in a movie that's already struggling to find its tone, having a score that is telling me something much different than what I'm seeing also makes it sort of difficult to just vibe with. Like, something bad is happening, like I need to know that. Like, you're supposed to feel that. Something good is happening, I'm supposed to feel that too. So I don't know, it just I kept coming back to that throughout the course of the movie. Is like, why does this feel so off?
Yeah. I have no words, no words to elaborate, to add to that, but except to say that I had the same experience of just feeling like things didn't quite mesh.
Well, we have like the whole moment of peril where, I don't know, like a meteorite flies in and blows a hole in Jerry O'Connell's hand, right?
Yeah, that made me jump.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, this is cool, but we don't like actually see any of the micro meteorites or whatever is flying around. We don't see any of the additional damage it does, but you think you would be like hearing a bunch of contact with the outside of the ship, which there isn't. And then even after they patch all that up, there's like a gaping hole in the fuel line, which, okay, like we know it's going to explode, but then it doesn't just like explode from ignition. Like the icicle has to float around to the back where the engine thrusters are, and that's what makes it blow up. Like, just like all of that is so protracted and weird. Like, you're showing us that there's a fuel cell issue. Like, we know that it's going to blow up. Why go through this weird preamble? Like, he could just hit the ignition. Like, I don't know, that whole sequence like just didn't make any sense. Like, you're taking the time to show the camera like leaking the fuel, and whatever it freezes, it doesn't freeze. Like, we're smart enough as the audience to put two and two together. When you're about to like hit the gas and there's like a fuel line issue, it's going to be a problem.
Right. And so the frozen fuel drifts back to I don't even know what you call that, like the side of the engine where it like explodes out, but it wouldn't in space. I don't know. It's confusing. And like you said, like all they really needed to do would be to show the damage to the fuel line and then an explosion, and nobody would question that. We would be there. We'd be with it.
So that's why I'm curious about sort of the music choices, because on the inside they're like, okay, we fixed everything. We're planning our optimal insertion angle. Which I'm like, okay, what is the optimal insertion angle? And I'm like, okay, disregard. We're going to show the icicle floating and then it explodes. Like, then they get to the point where they have to abandon ship because of the damage. And even the music then is like, it just doesn't match. Like, they're all very like, okay, well, time to just like get out of the spaceship. We have no other choice. My wrist calculator here, like I ran the numbers and the numbers say that we got to go. So it just, I feel like even the moment that should be the most perilous and the most stressful for us as the audience kind of isn't. And
it's kind of slow and plodding and just kind of sort of going for a walk in space kind of feeling.
Yeah, I know. I want it to be more because it does end with such like what should be like this emotional like gut punch of a moment. But I don't know. Did it work for you? Like, do you feel in that moment like her pain?
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I did in the moment that Tim Robbins pulls off his helmet and dies. Yeah, I felt her pain, but I not saying I wouldn't have felt it more acutely if the music had been a little different. But I was there with her. I think I squirted out a tear or two. Yeah,
I think what frustrates me about that scene is that they spend like 10 minutes talking about whether or not she can make it to him. And
right. And she would have been able to make it to him in that if they hadn't talked about it. Right.
Even if she couldn't make it to him with the thrusters, the tether was only 2 feet short, right?
Yes.
Had she just shot that at the very beginning, like if that was the plan, execute the plan right then and there. Because then you got plenty of thrusters. He's on the other side of the hook. Tim doesn't even die. Right. But that moment, like they're playing kind of like heroic music as he like sacrifices himself. And I'm like, I kind of get that. But I also like, I'm not looking at this scene as this just like act of heroism, which like it is. But by having his wife there to like watch him die, you're not communicating to me that like this is this moment where we should just be like, wow, Tim, I salute your sacrifice, man. Like, thank you so much. It's supposed to be a moment where like we're gutted by the fact that this tether comes up a couple feet short or whatever. So just like, maybe stop monologuing and just do the thing. So like there's frustrating stuff like that just I don't know why. You want the scene, obviously, where the tether comes up short, right? But you could just have that be the scene. Like, she doesn't have to stop and jabber and have this conversation about how she could or couldn't do it and what is and isn't possible. That's just a waste of time. And then by the end of the waste of time, you've actually screwed up. And now he can't reach the tether. Like, if she just is like, oh, like, you're right, I can't make it. Like, let me use the tether. And that's like all of the progression of the scene. And we still have that same outcome. Then like, it feels just like it's much more tidy and it actually sort of makes sense in a reasonable way. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't squirt out any tears.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely the frustration from this is not how this should have gone. But I I certainly still felt I'm watching my husband die, and my husband is going ahead and, I don't want to say sacrificing himself because he's going to die anyway, but choosing to die in that moment in order to save his wife from the folly of trying to continue to rescue him. And those emotional notes hit for me, even though I'm like, you idiots, it didn't need to be this way.
Well, I like that he looks on his little like rear view mirror that's conveniently located on his suit and is just like, oop, don't want to burn up in the atmosphere. That's going to suck. But he like maintains a very calm sort of sense of humor throughout the whole situation when like I'm thinking of something like Gravity when, you know, she's adrift and it's like, this is a very panicky situation. Obviously, like panicking doesn't do you any favors, but also just being like, yeah, well, I'm going to die now. OK, it's cool. He doesn't show any emotion, oddly, but that is still the scene that like stuck with me from this movie more than anything else. I didn't even remember a giant sand wiener.
Oh, that's terrible.
At least not from childhood. I was like, no, I just remember him taking his helmet off.
All right. Well, it's the face, man.
It is.
The Tim Robbins frozen space face.
Frozen space face. They do eventually get down to the planet and like they start their sort of wacky rescue mission. And we do see a little bit of like the problem solving sciencey stuff that the Martian really builds out and gives us a whole story for with Don Cheadle, like living in the greenhouse and, you know, producing oxygen and getting food from the plants and stuff. And I do like that. I feel like the last 30 minutes of the movie, like it sort of finds its footing finally and is like, this is the movie that it probably should have been for much more of the runtime.
Yeah, there's it leaves me with a lot of questions about how he did grow those plants, and was that something that they had in supplies because that their mission is sort of like leaning towards terraforming Mars, or I mean, maybe this is Martian brain from I've seen that movie, and that movie goes into the details on all those kinds of things. And so watching this one after the fact, it makes me question all those things that were not shown. Whereas maybe I wouldn't have given that two thoughts before. I would have just been like, okay, yeah, he grew some plants, and plants create oxygen and plants create food, and that makes sense. I might have just been like that, but I was kind of like, well, I have questions. Don Cheadle, will you answer my questions?
Yeah, I like him being a little crazy. I want him to be more crazy. I love that his suit is like super dirty in comparison to everybody else's. I read that the plants were grown hydroponically, which makes sense like on set, and they're real plants, but I don't know if that was the implication about how he grew them. But I did, of course, like have to think, I'm like, well, he's probably just using his shit as fertilizer and growing shit plants in there. So, but they never mentioned the smell or anything. So maybe not.
At one point, he kind of goes around and like pours from this kind of, I don't know, some sort of container that has a liquid that's almost greenish, and it looks just like Miracle Grow. So I wondered about that as well.
It's his very dehydrated urine that neon at that point, but probably not too good for plants either. But, you know, we get an ending that I feel is sort of like the balance of poetic and emotional, and I think rewarding in the way that is intended. You know, like it is supposed to be this sort of lofty ideals of where humanity comes from and where we're going, and it's like the finality of it for Gary Sinise to give him the option to to not go home and to stay and to see this thing through, because he's like, there's nothing left for him on Earth, basically. So I like how all of that kind of wraps up, and it feels like, I don't know why, but the movie just like didn't really find its stride until it was actually on Mars for a significant amount of time. Like all the stuff like to get to Mars, like, because it is mission to Mars. It's not like a story like The Martian where
Mission
it's
on Mars.
Exactly. So I think it's maybe just a matter of focusing on the wrong things in production. Because especially like, yeah, you show us the mission and you only show us like one day, but it's the 175th day. So it's not like this is a snapshot of the entire time they've been on this mission. It's like, oh no, just, we talked about it in the previous scene. The guy said no, I said yes. Now, several months later, we're about to arrive at Mars. So yeah, maybe just mission on Mars. Let's get that entire movie instead. I don't know. But I'm happy with the ending. I wrote, I do love the ending, but it auto-corrected in my notes to, I don't love this ending. Which is not true. I really do love the end.
Oh my God. AI thinking it knows better than us.
Autocorrect was like, based on the rest of these notes, you probably don't like the ending.
Oh, it's funny. So I do recall the first time I saw this movie, whether it was, 25 years ago or 5 years ago. I didn't like the ending really. I like the ending in theory, but I felt like it was overly emotional and too sentimental. Just the delivery of it, I guess. And I do still feel that a little bit. But the last time I watched it, when I rewatched it, I guess it would have been my second watch. I had it in my head, the fact that I didn't like the ending. And then the ending came and I was like, well, actually, I don't mind that so much. So I don't know if it's just I grew as a person or if I noticed something that I hadn't before. But I liked the emotional message of, what it is to be human, and to the whole quote about to stand on one world and look to the next. And like, that was it. Maybe I was just in the right frame of mind that it hit for me at that moment. But I have to say, I don't like that they showed the alien. It was, and especially when they had the alien have a single tear run down its cheek, like it was just, that's over the top. I don't know. I would have preferred.
That's too much.
Yes. I would have preferred getting the entire story of Mars and the disaster and shooting the DNA over to Earth without the giant, tall alien who stands there and I don't know, provides nothing other than the tear and a little hand holding.
Well, they need to go kumbaya at the end because we're all just Martians in the end. Yeah, the tear is a little much. I get that they're like, hey, this is an alien movie. We want to like show an alien.
It's always better when they don't. It's always better when they imply.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to do that, like just make it a practical alien. Like don't CGI me this alien here. Like get Rick Baker or somebody in there to like give me a real freaking monster. And you even could have showed like just the shadow and like you said, just like imply that it's there in the room with them and they just kind of see all this stuff happening. We don't need to see the DNA come out of its hand.
Yeah, or the alien doesn't even need to be there. Like they could be showing the story all through the the hologram or whatever in front of them, and then and then they understand that they're in a ship that's going to take them to where the aliens are. I don't need to see an alien to have that story come to its conclusion for me. But
it's one of the weaker design decisions, I think, in the movie, because you spend so much time making it like as practical and as real and as like grounded as you can for a movie that takes place on Mars, and then to be like a CGI alien at the end to like you said, do some like literal and figurative hand holding for us. So I don't know if that's a a measure of them not like trusting the material enough to work without showing the alien. Like, you know, we spent so much time not on Mars in the movie that when we finally get there at the end, do you want to like actually get the alien on here? We need some Martian on screen in order to like get the payoff. So I don't know the decision making that went into that, but given the circumstances, like if you're Don Cheadle and you're the rescue crew, right? You've been there for a year waiting for this rescue crew to show up. And then you're like, okay, well, we figured out that we got to solve this puzzle. And then the alien thing opens up. Are you walking into the giant alien face on Mars, or are you taking the ride home?
I mean, they do both. Except for
Yeah,
Gary
but they didn't
Sinise.
know that.
Okay, so you're saying like, yeah, I guess because Gary was like, hey, if we're not back by XYZ, you need to go without us. And so they did sort of think there was a possibility they weren't coming out. Yeah, I'd go in.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry.
You know, he said I came all this way. I didn't come all this way to like stop
That's
at the alien head.
A good quote. He says, I didn't come 100 million miles just to stop in the last 10 feet. Or just to turn back in the last 10 feet, one of those.
Because I feel like, you know, in their position, I'm probably going in the head too. I'm like, look, there's a giant Martian head that we just like solved some magic puzzle and it opened up. I gotta see what's in there. Like, worst case scenario, like we have a very treacherous ride back home and we might not make it anyway. So might as well see what this Martian is offering.
Obviously, whatever is in there is important if it's being guarded by a giant sand wiener.
Yeah.
I want to know what is important enough to be guarded by a sand wiener.
It's the secret of all life on Earth and possibly some more stuff deeper in the universe. The visual of the like diaspora of the Martians from the planet also is very not phallic but a little sperm like as they fly to the next galaxy. So they're, you know, sand wieners, Martian sperm. People listening to this, if you haven't seen the movie, these are not super accurate descriptors, but
this is just our brains. Yeah,
you'll know it when you see it, and then it may ruin the movie for you. So I'm sorry about that. But based on the scores for this movie, it may not. So let's go to Critics Corner because we've already talked about this movie at some length, but we need to see what the critics have said about it because that's always where like the most bountiful fruit grows. We have a 34 Metascore overall with a low of 20 and a high of 75. So we're going to start with the 20. And this is Austin Chronicle. This is Mark Savlov. He's on here all the time. I don't know if he likes movies, but he says De Palma's film is a mess from its anxious start all the way through to its new agey end, relying heavily on cribs from Kubrick and Cameron, and even the recent Apollo 13. So, yeah, he's not wrong.
He's pretty harsh, but he's not wrong.
Harsh, but not incorrect. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, let's see. We go 225s. I'm going to jump those and go to a 30, which is the Dallas Observer. Robert Wolanski, he says, one can only assume that all the good stuff landed on the cutting room floor because it sure as hell didn't make it to Mars.
Oh,
yeah, that's pretty harsh too.
Saucy.
Yeah. All right, Robert. Sorry, Dallas, not chiming in with the winner. Okay, we got Miami Herald on the board with a 38, and this is Renee Rodriguez. Says $100 million production of a 10-cent script is so clunkily written, so bereft of any engaging ideas or emotions, you'd think De Palma would have sneered at it on first reading and passed.
I do wonder about this script. Is it one of those that went through several iterations with different sets of writers? Because there were like 5 writers, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's like 3 people on the screenplay, and then 2 of those 3 people wrote with another person for the story. So maybe too many cooks in the kitchen type situation. It happens. We'll jump the 38. No, excuse me. We'll jump the 40 because we got 350s on the board. And we've got the Christian Science Monitor, USA Today, and the Charlotte Observer. So I'm going to let you choose.
I'm kind of curious as to what the Christian Science Monitor has to say.
I always want to read it because most of the movies we talk about on here are not movies that are really for the Christian Science crowd. So they gave it a 50, though. This is David Starrett. Says the picture is equally long on eye-dazzling camera work and new age sentimentality.
Okay. So
not a horrendous review.
No. Yeah, he pulled out the good part of the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Honestly, like if I could take this movie, edit it a little bit, and then maybe change the score in some of the scenes, I think I could make a movie that I would enjoy more. I don't know that everybody else would enjoy it more, but I would definitely like it a little bit better. So we're going to go to the... cool. All right. Well, maybe I'll do that. I one of my favorite, like, just fun things in my head when I have time to like actually do video editing is to take like just to do music supervision and change it on scene. So take like a scene that I like and put different music to it and see how that works out. So most of the time that doesn't make it to the light of day. It's just something I do for fun. So all right. Well, Michael Wilmington, Chicago Tribune, closing us out, gave it a 75. Says one of the most gorgeous sci-fi movies ever. And probably also one of the most realistic in detail and scientific extrapolation.
Hard disagree on that one. I mean, okay.
The movie does really go for realism, though. So in his defense, it's trying really hard to do that.
It just has to ignore a lot of actual reality to do it. I don't know. I don't know. I'll say there are some things about it that I think are probably quite realistic, but then there are a lot of things that I noticed that aren't. And I'm not like, Kip Thorne. I don't. I'm not the type of person that should be noticing a whole bunch of scientific inaccuracies. But so anyway. Not sure I agree with him, but that's cool. It's cool.
Well,
I appreciate his enthusiasm. So
yeah, I don't know what he means by scientific extrapolation, but sure.
I assume he means like taking the way NASA functions currently and pushing that into the future. And like, so how would they do a mission to Mars? Which I think is probably one of those things that like the theory of the mission to Mars in this is done well.
Yeah. I mean, they took it directly from NASA because I think, at the time in 2000, like, of course we can give you our Mars plans because we're not going. So, this is what it is like, we would have to do this over this amount of time. So whatever. I mean, Michael liked it. It's fine. He praised it for sort of the things that, not that I liked least about it, but for the Apollo 13 of it all, I would say. He's like, hey, I liked Apollo 13, so I like a lot of elements of this movie too. I could see that,
Which year was Apollo 13? 96?
Maybe a little earlier, 94, 95.
Yeah, maybe.
No, might have been 9 to 6, actually. 96. I don't know.
9 to 6. It's the work day.
Been working 9 to 6 on Apollo 13.
1995.
95.
I like how we both looked it up at the same time.
Probably should just
95,
look this
95.
up. I'm sitting here in front of the internet. I might as well just ask. Okay. Well, I've got one more thing specifically for us. But before that, I want to get to gateway drug movies because I think that is going to help some people make some decisions about this. So what is a good movie that would bridge the gap for somebody who has not seen Mission to Mars, but might be interested in the subject matter?
Now, this is also a question that I pondered and had a hard time coming up with an answer for. So when you say gateway drug movies, does it have to be something that came out before this movie?
No.
Okay.
I'd say probably something that's more popular or well received in this movie that people could point to and be like, oh, well, I liked Armageddon, so I would probably like Mission to Mars kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, so the hard part for me about this is like the movies I think of are like The Martian, which has a lot of, things in common with this story-wise, but it's a far superior movie. So if
Yeah.
somebody was like, I like The Martian, so I should watch Mission to Mars, they're probably going to be eminently disappointed by Mission to Mars. So like
that's fine.
I wanted, I'd like to come up with something perfect. This is where my perfectionism brain messes everything up, because I'm like, well, this is got some similar things, but not like only 20% of it is similar, or like I'll think, well, this is not a perfect answer, so I'm just going to sort of bow out on this one.
Okay, fair enough. I think somebody being disappointed by this movie is maybe inevitable. But if you're really into sort of space movies like I am, and just sci-fi stuff in general, I mean, obviously like Red Planet came out the same year, but I don't think that's more popular in any meaningful way that would actually help. We've talked about Apollo 13 a lot, so I'm trying to think of a specific Mars movie, and I don't necessarily have one that is great for this, but let me see, where is my list? I know I have it somewhere. That ain't it. What did I do with it? Oh, what a waste of time this is. As it turns out, I have it somewhere, I promise. But this is not.
Before we started talking, I did look up a list of Mars movies, and I was actually shocked by how few of them I have seen.
Yeah.
So I think that might be hindering me in coming up with a good answer to this question as well, which I'm excited for, Mars Madness here, because then there will hopefully be some new movies for me to check out, because I'll need to watch them in order to listen to your show.
Yeah, the ones that we're going to cover here are also probably not going to be the good ones.
Well, that's I didn't expect, not on this show.
But I think, well, this is an old movie and probably isn't a good one either, but because it sort of reaches back to the era of films that I feel like Mission to Mars was going for, I would say probably Red Planet Mars. It's a Harry Horner film from the 50s. Might be a little bit more in line with what Mission to Mars is actually trying to achieve. So yeah, it's on Tubi, I think, maybe the Plex. Someone's giving it away free somewhere. That would be my guess. But yeah, there's a lot of Mars movies, and most of the ones that I've seen are like the comedies, like My Favorite Martian and Rocket Man. So be interested to see some more of like the heavy dramas. I've never seen Santa Conquers the Martians, but that one sounds like absolutely batshit crazy. So and is widely regarded as one of the worst movies ever. So I wish I could do it on this show, but I don't know if anyone's actually seen it. So that's the hard part.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, I found it a couple years ago when doing like Christmas stuff, and I was like, this seems kind of insane, but I love it. Okay. Back on track for this show in particular. I know, we had kind of spitballed some ideas around. But since you co-host the Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con with me, an idea that I want to do on that show that I told you about, we could practice here. Since we have the spaceship to nowhere, we get to abduct one character from this movie to join the podcast. So who do you want from Mission to Mars to join the show?
You know, I think Tim Robbins has the most personality in that movie.
Definitely.
I think he'd be an entertaining person to join the podcast.
Yeah, despite the buzz cut, he does seem pretty jovial and pretty loosey-goosey, but then he takes his science seriously, so I could see that. All right, Woody, come on down.
That's right.
We got an extra chair here in the cockpit.
Forgot his character name. He's Woody, which made me think of Toy Story, even though Woody's not the astronaut, but that's okay.
Woody can join us and he can fly right stick.
Yes, let's do that.
Is there a left stick? They didn't mention left stick.
You're reaching way beyond my base of knowledge here.
Yeah, I think the movie can't answer that question for me either. But
maybe Woody could.
Maybe he could. Maybe I hope he can, because he's going to be the guy. So like I mentioned, you and I are working on the other show, the Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con. We've got a couple episodes recorded now. I just need to get to the editing. But that is a sub-series here at Bad Movies We Love, where we don't just talk about bad movies, but we talk about all sci-fi movies. And I think we're probably going to run into a lot of like middling and bad ones still. And this would have made an interesting companion to Contact, but decided to not go that route. Went with another bad movie. It's probably not as bad as this one, but also involves aliens and satellite dishes. And so we're going to do Arrival next.
The Arrival.
Sorry. Yes. Not Arrival. No, that's too good. We'll do that one later. We'll eventually like turn the corner and be like, we're only going to do a couple good ones here. But as long as I'm flying left stick, then we're going to veer off into some trashy ones and have some fun. So we'll do Charlie Sheen's The Arrival from 1996 next. But yeah, you're co-hosting with me. So is there anything you want to say about the show or to sell it before we wrap up here?
I'm terrible at selling things, selling myself, whatever. But just that we have a good time, just like we do on this show, and we talk about sci-fi because obviously we talk about sci-fi. Dumbass. Sorry. I'll just say I'm looking forward to talking about The Arrival because I did watch it again last night and it's a lot better than I remembered. So
good. Yeah, I really liked it a lot around the time when it came out, but also because it's, from what I remember, it has like a pretty solid pace to it, and I just love that like Charlie Sheen almost always looks like he's like very puzzled and intense throughout the movie.
He's very intense in that movie. Yes.
So I think something I like about movies is just like intensity. Like I want to feel it when I'm watching the movie. I don't want to be too relaxed or too bored. And I think especially with movies about aliens and stuff like that, I want to get a little scared. So The Arrival's a good one. We're going to have fun. I remember like a bubbling like human mask, I think, like start to fall off. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember some creepy ass visuals in that. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
No sand penis, but that's okay.
Bummer. Well,
Sand wiener.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now I just went crazy with it. Named it something different.
It's fine. Well, as we continue to search the cosmos, we'll be on the lookout for more sand wieners.
There's got to be. There's got to be more sand wieners out there.
Dune, the worms, whatever. It's like little sand wieners there too. So
that works.
I'm sure we'll find more. I'm sure the harder we look, the more we'll find. And
isn't that the case with wieners? Yeah.
We'll make sure that we keep track. We'll keep a little score sheet. We got one sand wiener so far, and we'll continue the quest for more, because I know that the people that listen to this show and the people that are going to listen to Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con, they're like, you know what? We are the kind of people that want to know where we can see a sand wiener. So
yes, they are here for the sand wieners.
Exactly. As are we. So I get it. Well, Stephanie, this has been a pleasure as always. I look forward to the arrival. And of course, you're welcome back on this show to talk non-sci-fi stuff whenever you want. Just pitch me an idea and I'll add it to the notes and we'll get it on the calendar.
Sounds good. We'll do that.
All right. Well, you have yourself a great rest of your day.
You too.
Adios.
Thank you to Stephanie for helping me kick off Mars Madness, and because she is my co-host for Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con, there was nobody better to help me start things off. If you had fun with us and you want to hear more of that on a regular basis, the best way to do that is to sign up and become an enlisted member of the Resistance. That way you get the members-only stuff like Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con and all the other shows for just $5 a month. If you're interested, that's badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support, and I'm going to have that link up and easily accessible for you in the show notes. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to the episode. I know there's a seemingly infinite number of options when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you letting me into your ear holes and hopefully into your hearts. In all seriousness, though, time is valuable, and I am very grateful that you've entrusted me with yours. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review or at least a rating and telling a friend about it. If you don't enjoy it, then maybe let's keep that between us. As I mentioned in the open, the new members-only section is in fact live at badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support, where you're going to get access to a bunch of goodies for only $5 a month. And I would absolutely love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love and would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove spelled LUV on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies.